Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Divine Intervention. I'm your host, Lexi Hingle, and today I'm sitting down with my dear friend, Devin Stewart. He's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. He's an artist and he shapes surfboards. He's a surfer. He's deeply spiritually connected, and which is a lot of what our conversation revolves around. And so, yeah, thank you so much for being here today, Dev.
Thanks for having me on the podcast. It's been exciting planning this and just, talking behind the scenes about our spiritual journeys and our journeys as artists, kind of like trying to share this this version of life that we're have both chosen to create for ourselves.
Yeah, we're creating every moment within every moment. That you and I met probably a year and a half ago.
Something
And
like that.
I was working down the street from where you live at a super eclectic, neat shop called Hunter Gatherer. And so I remember you had just put a couple of your surfboards in the store at the time, which was like an epic accomplishment for you in your career.
Yeah, that was exciting. It was interesting. It was kind of short-lived. I ended up like wanting to pull them out of the shop and like ride them. I
I love that.
So that, they were there for a bit and it was cool. And then I don't know, yeah, I chose to like change directions with how I was putting forth my creations and the brand.
Yeah, and so you and I have been connecting deeper ever since I've been back on the mainland for, I mean, what, 2 months now. We've just been in pretty constant communication, touching base with one another, and just like checking in a supportive way,
Yeah.
with each other's spiritual journeys.
It's fun to share the spirit and share like this, I don't know, I guess I could call it like a new way of living that I've chosen to really take seriously or embody. I guess is a good way to
Mm.
say it.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And we're kind of acting as soundboards for one another, like observing each other's realities as objectively as possible with like compassion and like just honesty. And that is the highest form of love, in my opinion, is like being honest with someone. And I feel that frequency from you very much, like every time we talk. And that's how I know I can trust you in my circle as someone who like I confide in and just like can look to for advice. So yeah, thanks.
Thanks. I'm honored to hear that. And it's nice to have that reflection on the work I've been putting into my own life, where that is like my primary mode of operating. Like I really want to make sure that I'm acting from that place of truth and honesty so that that's the vibration I'm putting out there.
Yeah, authenticity. Because I think
Yes.
we
Love
get
that word.
blocked. We get blocked in our own life journey. Like things stop flowing when we aren't showing up authentically, you know? So,
Yeah, I
yeah.
really notice when I'm not being authentic. And I feel like a lot of my life I was like a people pleaser. And it sort of led me into this path of like realizing like, hey, like what is my true identity? Like there was like this, the small still voice within at some point, I don't know, maybe 2016 really started to make more noise as to like what do I want my life to look like? How do I want to be living? And it's been a wild journey over these past 9, 10 years, especially out here on Kauai, where I've undergone a lot of changes, but I've actually really stepped into living my dreams, living my childhood dreams that I had growing up in California.
Yeah, and like the dreams that are actually yours and not like your parents and your family. I know what you mean when you're saying like finding out who you really are. It's like, who am I when I'm not trying to conform to this version of Alexis that people have taught me, you
Yep.
know? So yeah,
Yeah.
it's like going out in the middle of the ocean and being kind of like solo dolo is what better way to figure out who the fuck you are?
It takes a lot of bravery too. Like the way that you came out here is different from how I aligned myself and found my way out here. And you know, I think that's one of the most fascinating parts about living on Kauai is I've discovered all these individuals that share this kind of adventurous trait and this like I guess ability to break free of society's expectations or whatever expectations existed in their hometown. And That's been something that I didn't necessarily anticipate encountering as much when I moved because I was so in my own tunnel of experience that led me here.
Right. Because you kind of
Um,
were in a relationship with someone at the
yep.
time, and that was the main motive for you to move. So it wasn't like you were, oh, I need to go heal myself. I need to run away. Like you were just going to the island with a partner.
I feel like it was like a subtext too, though, of my journey. And like, I have a cousin that grew up out here. So from a young age, I've always like idolized this place. I was very fortunate to come out here a few times over the course of my youth. And, it was my version of paradise that I picked up on. Like, I surfed at a local beach break for the first time when I was 7 years old. And my cousin was like already good at surfing and I was terrible, but like I loved being in the ocean. And that was a big draw. I moved from Santa Cruz out here, so I had established surfing as a big part of my lifestyle and one of my main passions. And yeah, it somehow all came to fruition, like, and I feel that um, it's a hallmark of my experience of the spiritual journey is like maybe letting go of expectations as like a shedding, and then if you're staying cognizant, like you'll realize like, whoa, hold on, like I'm like low key living my dreams right now. You know,
Yeah,
what do I do next? Like how else does it take form if you tap
right.
into that phenomena, you know?
Yeah, like holy shit, I'm on the most beautiful beach in the world, surrounded by like this beautiful community, and I'm just like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
And where do I go from here? I want to talk about what's going on with your face. Tell everyone what happened.
Well, I guess it was Wednesday morning. The surf had come up at one of my favorite spots, and it's this reef break that's like kind of pretty far out to sea, and it handles a lot of power. And Hawaii is known for its powerful swell because we're just out here in the middle of the Pacific, receiving it like out of deep water. And yeah, I'd been feeling myself surfing, and I haven't had an injury in a long time from surfing. I feel like I honestly have this like, in my point of view, a magical relationship with something that is very dangerous where I trust this particular reef break and it's been really good to me. And I I think in my confidence overlooked the conditions a bit in the morning, and I took a board that was a little small for the conditions out, but it was a board that I had made. I've surfed it in decent sized surf before, but when the water's moving around so much, it's important to have extra foam and extra length on your equipment and having the right equipment to meet the conditions because when the waves come in, the current starts moving fast and I wasn't able to like get myself into a safe place. I had to duck dive this fairly large wave and it ripped the board out of my hands and suddenly I'm like holding onto my leash and I felt it like this all happened in like seconds. I felt it tug tight and like I almost had a sense that oh my God, it's coming back, and bam, I got nailed on the side of my cheekbone, luckily by the tail of my board and the fin, and it
Will you
split
show
my face
us?
open. Yeah, I can take it off. Um, I have like masking tape on because it's
Well,
something I have as a
thank
surfboard gear.
God, thank
Seriously
God
though,
this is like this.
like it hit me
I mean,
really
I'm sure it
hard.
hurt. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Ouch.
check it out.
but it's still like your face is still gorgeous. You're gonna be okay.
Oh, thank you.
You didn't have a concussion,
I
right?
might have a concussion. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That day was kind of mystical, but fortunately, I have some first aid training, and my friends are lifeguards out there, and I went over to the guard station. And even as I came up the beach, fellow surfers saw that I was in distress because right away I knew it was a hard enough impact that I had split my face open. Like I just knew it. And so the first thing I did when I surfaced, I was like, how bad is it? And
Mhm.
I could
Like, yeah,
feel
the
that,
shock of it, you don't even know how bad it is because you're kind of in shock.
yeah, and the body's cool. It'll like if I felt the impact and it hurt, but it's like the pain kind of went away. But like I knew I felt my face open,
Open.
felt the slides. I was like, oh shit, how much
Yeah.
blood? How open is it?
Well, I'm so grateful that you're okay and you're like
Yeah, I was told to
not
super
you don't
glue
have to
it.
go to the hospital. Yeah,
Yeah, no
that's good.
stitches needed. I just painted little strips of super glue across. I pinched it together after I went to the local grocery store and got some super glue and some liquid bandage, and then I sat in my car and just put it back together for the drive home, and I kept pressure on it. I got really lucky. Could have been my eye, so I've been just focusing on the gratitude rather than
Yeah,
the bruising, and
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
I've had three concussions in my life.
nice. Yeah, look at you
Yeah,
go.
kind of gnarly.
It's kind of gnarly.
But I also was in a bike accident where like half of my face, like the skin was just ripped off.
Yeah.
That was in 2020. All I have left is just a tiny, tiny little scar. You can't even,
I put my glasses back.
you definitely can't see it on this video, but
No,
it's
I've
like,
never
it's right
noticed any
there.
scarring. Wow,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I'm incredibly blessed that it healed. The handlebar went straight into my gut, so I still have like a hematoma, like this tiny little like dried up ball of blood that never got reabsorbed.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, like, I'm so grateful, and that was a divine intervention in my life.
Mm.
Upon that accident, I packed my shit up, went to Colorado into the super, super tiny town in the mountains called Rollinsville. And I lived at an ashram for a month. And that's when I did my
Wow.
first yoga teacher training. It was amazing. It was like I knew upon the accident, like that life was trying to wake me up, that the
Mhm.
universe was like, you aren't like, you need to like wake up. Because I remember the moment it happened too. I was riding my bike on a levee. I'm like, there's one sign every like 2 miles, right? And so I'm just riding, it's COVID. I turn around to see the biker coming up next to me. And when I turn back, I'm
No.
going straight into one of
Oh
these
my God.
signs. And
I've been.
I jerk reaction, just went boom on the gravel. I'm going probably 20 miles per hour and just like gravel. Like I remember skirting on the gravel and wondering in my brain, how the fuck did I get here right now?
Ugh.
And
It's
so,
crazy how
yeah.
time slows down when that stuff happens, right? And
Yeah.
I have all these thoughts. Like I've been thinking about my thing just the other day. Like I have this sequence of events that I can't distinguish at what point in time it'll happen. But
A big wake up call for me, like, hey, what am I doing? I was working remote for like some tech company, and I'm like, I'm not optimizing like my potential as this soul living in this
yeah,
human body. And this is
I
like,
love that.
yeah. So, I,
That's a major theme that
yeah,
plays into my story. And not to interrupt, but like I think that is like probably the most important moment I could trace back to with my own like professional life and experiences, like that feeling of like, what am I doing? Like, even if the job looked good on paper or I was making decent money, and my soul has always spoken up. And that is
yeah.
like the primary question I think everyone could consider if they wanted to change how they feel in day-to-day life.
Mhm. Yeah, it will wake you up. I think God speaks to us like in whispers. And then
Mhm.
when you're not listening, when you're not tuned in and really aware of what's happening, it's the voice starts to get louder and it's like, oh, okay, you're not paying attention now, or like you see what I'm trying to tell you, and your
Yeah.
intuition, like you know what you need to do deep down, but you're so comfortable, you're trying to ignore it. And
Yeah.
then it's like, no, bitch, you're not getting out of this.
I can relate. Like I had a college degree, so I was like, I'm gonna apply. Like I remember saying to many people, like, "Oh yeah, like I'm not gonna be one of those people that doesn't apply my college degree." And so I'm working this job almost stubbornly, even though I never really even believed my own bullshit about how I felt. I was like lying to myself and I guess lying to other people by putting on an air of confidence and trying to f fulfill a role that I had
But
like.
find compassion. Like what we have to do, what the most important thing is that we find compassion for ourselves, because we were being taught and sold the story since we were children
Oh
that
yeah.
this is how you find your self-worth. It's through your productivity, it's through the way you look to the rest of the world. And that is just a complete lie, it's just this complete
Yeah.
lie. So I want to circle back to your surfboard company, and I want to talk about your catchphrase, which is,
The truth is in the ride.
yeah, the truth is in the ride. I want you to tell me about that.
Okay. I grabbed that one from this older guy that kind of gave me the opportunity to shape out here at his spot in his shaping bay. And I remember hearing him say that. I was like, oh, that's like so solid. And it really embodied what I was after at the time because the shaping thing came up out here in Hawaii somewhat randomly, but at a time where I needed it the most. I was
Random.
Yeah, random is like the best, It was like I think I was really asking for something that was like a fresh drink of water for my soul because I was in that situation we were talking about of like working and trying to like fill these old shoes and like, I had like stopped wearing shoes out here. I was over it. I was like, I'm going
Yeah.
barefoot on this thing. Let's
Yes.
And so truth in the ride, the truth is in the ride to me represents like this passage through life that we all are participating in our own vessels, and each board, and this is just like maybe a look into my shaping philosophy. To me, each board represents like a creative moment. And I've always tried to, or not tried, I've implemented this idea that each board that I end up making by hand, I want it to represent like where I'm at energetically at the time, and I want it to be like a its own subjective experience, and in that mindset while I'm making it, I believe that the board will be a vessel of expression throughout the build and then throughout its experience for whoever's riding it. It'll be a constant symbol of truthiness or like like a symbol of the moment. And it's another one of my
And
favorite parts about surfing a wave, like this form of energy from out to sea shows up on land, and if you happen to catch it, that one was just for you. Like your schedule during the day led you to be in that exact spot, like bobbing around in the ocean amongst other people. And this wave shows up on this particular board that, I made for myself or that I made for the rider. And then the truth is in the ride. Like, do you catch it and fall? Do you stumble, or does everything go perfectly? And you have like a ride of your life moment, or just have a fun ride. I mean, there's so much variability. And that's what's always captivated me with spending time in the ocean. And
do
then
you
like,
find that you are a better surfer when you're just trying like to achieve um just having a fun time?
yeah, I guess the way I could say it, because I've spent a lot of time embodying this idea of like really not thinking about it, and like not even trying. It's kind of like, I think I borrowed this from yoga, like where you settle into your breath, and like I like to drop into my heart space when I'm in the ocean and just like attract the wave that's meant for me. Having patience amongst my fellow surfers, patience with myself, not expressing urgency, because especially in Hawaii, and I think I experienced this surfing in Santa Cruz, like if I'm feeling tense or urgent or I'm thinking about anything, it's like tripping over my own feet.
Yeah, you're not being present. You're not being fully
Yeah.
present.
And like I think as I've surfed many years now and learned more about myself and the art of wave riding, it's like letting go of everything, especially your own personal identity or ego. It's like if I'm feeling egoic, I'll like fall. I won't
Yeah.
like
I
straight up. It's
feel
like,
that in yoga for sure. There's
and
like,
that's
if
like
I'm not in that flow state and then I'm
flow
being
state.
hard on myself and I'm like, oh, we're gonna get this advanced pose and we're in front of all of these people and like you're in front of the classroom and there's no way you're not gonna do this right now. And I always lose it. Like I always fall out. And then I practice laughing at myself too,
That's
because
so
it's
important.
like, dude, if
That's
you
so
can't fucking
important.
laugh at yourself, then God bless you because
When you got to let it go, because like yoga is a practice. I think surfing is a practice, and it's like a testament to, I guess, like freedom from that perceived pressure, because
hmm
surfing and like I'm a lifelong competitive soccer player, like there's a performance aspect to both those things, but it's not about being in a mindset of I'm performing. It's like
No.
you have to just let your practice flow through you and let the moment happen and you get in the zone,
Yeah.
and that's one of my favorite parts of existing, like in motion, in the zone. Like I'm totally about that. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people compare yoga and surfing as very similar sports per se. I can see how they're one and the same and how you have to be in this relationship, this deep connection with your breath. That's how like that's
yeah.
it's the breath is the life force, in yoga it's called prana. It's your life
Mhm.
force energy. And when you lose your breath, you lose your balance. You're like you're not allowing life to flow through you. Like this is
Right.
our bodies are moving particles. So it's interesting. It's like you can't hold your breath. Anytime I used to deal with anxiety, was like diagnosed as a teenager having an anxiety disorder. Like put a fucking label on me, bitch. And I
We just call it
realized
high energy though too. It's so funny how these categories are created arbitrarily because really it comes down to you are able to channel earth energy in a big way. You're open to it and you express it. And I think yoga's helped my surfing and my soccer and my entire life because it
me
allows us to
too.
like let the energy flow, let that prana flow, and the breath
In
is
the breath.
essential to be a good player in soccer, to run. That's where
So
I think I
many
really opened myself up.
Yeah, so many times I would have like physical, visceral panic attacks. I was like, whoa, I'm not breathing. And when I realized that, I'm like, whoa, this is why we're taught how to manually breathe. Like when you're studying yoga. And definitely your yoga practice, like whatever's happening on your mat is a reflection of every other aspect of your life. 1,000,000%. I have found that to be true time and time and time again.
One million
So,
percent. I like that.
yeah, the idea of surrendering too. Just like you said, being open. That is like a form of surrender. It's like being open, not knowing what's going to happen, but like trusting and
I
being
think what we're talking
optimistic.
about, it's like this is the golden thread that I believe leads us into that other prompt about like the shaping process. Like when I'm making a board, all these principles we just discussed apply when I'm making a board. I like to tune out of whoever I am. Um, in the past, I'd like smoke a lot of weed and like put on sometimes music, but often I found myself most at home listening to like an audio book about like the hero's journey or whatever I was studying at the time or the Tao. And I just let that flow and I'd get out of my own way and just, I'd follow the steps and let the board come into being. And it's so funny because I had never even watched that movie Surf's Up until recently, but like that scene with Big Z, the like the penguin. I don't know, have you seen
I
it?
know the penguin. I know it's a penguin movie, and it's probably been so
With
long since
the
I've seen it.
grain, and like I swear there's something to that. It's just about letting
That's what
the
going with the flow is. Like when things are, when you're resisting things, oh, this relationship won't work out. Oh, this job won't work out. Oh, why do things keep like punching me? I feel like I'm a fucking punching bag. It's like, bruh, the universe is speaking. Like, go
gotta
that
trust.
way, go that way.
Trust the
Like,
process.
yeah, trust, allow yourself to be stretched to a new level every time you're asking to level up, like expect to be stretched and sometimes you kind of have to pivot. You kind of just have to. I want to go ahead and shift the conversation over to solitude and how
Okay.
it is super necessary to spend time with yourself to understand like who you really are at your core.
Yeah,
And that can be really uncomfortable, like to face that.
for real. It is. I think I don't know, we're raised, at least most, I feel like I was raised, at least I can speak for myself, with this strong desire for camaraderie and like, teammates or classmates, like, friendships. But
We're meant to
I've
have
discovered,
community. Yeah, not like to
yeah.
discard community, but
But
like I don't
individuation.
find it's taught. It's never like been really taught in our American culture to seek solitude.
No, definitely not. It kind of goes against the grain in a way, but it's so important to individuate to really find out what your soul is all about, to like to self-discover, to find out what that small at first that small still voice within, like who am I? Like,
Yeah, how can you discern it between what you're hearing outside of yourself if you don't even stop and take the time to give it a chance to like
right,
present?
right.
And I find that like my time in nature is when my intuition is heightened. And nature
Hmm.
is constantly like reteaching me things, helping me remember my true nature. And
Yes.
yeah.
When
So
we are nature as we live and breathe,
yeah.
I've read that in so many different formats. I think that theme is woven beautifully into storytelling, whether it be fictional or people writing on like the environmental movement. Starting from the book Silent Spring. I forget the author's name, but like, in the 60s, 70s, there's like the Earth First movement. And I think I was first introduced to this idea of the unification of nature, I guess probably first through like Pocahontas, honestly,
Wow,
right?
yes. Oh my
Disney
God.
movies.
See, like as
But
much as Disney has kind of fucked up some people's perceptions on relationships, at least we had Pocahontas.
yeah,
I mean, it wasn't really true. The whole thing that they displayed wasn't true, but like there were some things I took away as a kid that were good out of Disney. And that's just everything in life. Like everything has
exactly.
its, yeah.
Well, it's like this balance that we experience in the world. Like, if we're going to say that the world is formatted in our culture, at least, or it was as a dualistic concept, like there's the good and evil, and there's the natural and the man-made environment. But
The
when you fold that
synthetic.
together and understand that man is nature expressing itself in the form of the human being, we're like consciousness observing itself in the universe, on this planet in particular and likely elsewhere. I don't know. And
There's a difference
what's
between
first?
loneliness and solitude. And I think you learn how to feel less lonely by spending time in solitude.
Yeah.
In a weird, like paradoxical
Oh,
way.
totally. Like, yep. I like recently I've been thinking of it as like you learn to befriend yourself. You know, you
Yeah.
love yourself, and that comes from shedding the layers of programming or the impressions that were made on the
The
individual
samskaras.
while growing up. Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
you know, that's it's kind of a natural evolution though. Like snakes shed their skin, trees shed their bark, and things expand. You know, depending on where you are and the species of plant and tree, you know, you have perennials where leaves are dropped and regrow. Like,
Hmm.
um, I remember being a kid being so fascinated by how a lizard's tail would fall off and still be moving to distract you, and then it'll grow back, you know, like
Yeah.
there's amazing
The
stuff like that.
regeneration that we find
Yeah.
in nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Solitude is one of those practices, if you will, of self-discovery where you take it upon yourself. And I think it takes courage, at least I know for myself, like it was sort of scary, the idea for a long time, but as I aged, I realized like, you know, this is actually kind of going to be essential for me to find what makes me happy because I'd grown tired of wearing other people's identities or cultural obligations or parental expectations as an identity, you know, call it
Yeah.
people pleasing, like, because, you know, there's a big part of us that wants to fit in. And then as I've aged, you know, I'm 37 now. I've discovered that when you take it upon yourself to befriend yourself, then you're you're centering yourself in a position to find your tribe, your you know individuals that are doing the same thing, and you can build a more um, genuine or authentic
Yeah,
community.
it's not based on a codependency. Like, oh, I'm scared to
Right.
be alone, so I'm just gonna clasp on to this. It's like,
I've
no, no,
lived that.
no. I'm never scared to be alone because I've practiced being alone so much that I enjoy it so much. And I know I'm coming from a place of like true interest and like this is lighting me
Yeah.
up inside. I'm not doing anything because I don't want to or because I'm scared that if I don't do this, there won't be something else for me. Like I don't have FOMO anymore. But it took
Yeah.
so long to get there. So
Oh
long.
yeah. That's a really I'm glad you said that. Like that dissociation from needing to, you know, keep up with the Joneses is an older way of saying like that comparative mindset, you know, and I've in my reading, and I love to read, especially on these topics, like comparison is the greatest thief of joy.
Just being in the middle of the ocean. Like how could you go seek solitude any better way, you know?
For real, you know, and it was something that I was like maybe in the back corner of my mind. Like I definitely moved with like a preset community from my prior relationship, but that didn't fit at all.
Mm-hmm.
And that
And it fell
really,
away and then you met yourself again.
yes, I've
Yeah.
really come back into who I am, who I want to be, and I've let go of a lot of like shame and mistakes and past identities, and it's wild because I've totally transformed physically, spiritually, mentally, and I'm really happy that I persevered through some tough times in the individuation process for my own story. You know, I don't know if it has to be difficult for everybody, but I
I
would say,
definitely think it has to be uncomfortable, like shedding your
yeah,
skin. I like to
for
think of
real.
this analogy. One time I read somewhere, like imagine witnessing a woman giving birth and not knowing what was going on or like knowing about
No,
birth in general.
yeah.
You would 1,000,000% think like she is dying and this is a terrible thing. If you
No, it's
didn't know,
wild.
if there was no context of like what birth was, you know, where do babies come from, and you're just there witnessing a woman having like giving birth to a child, you would be like, this is the worst thing in the world. Like, she is dying. Like, this is terrible. But then
It's
when you
wild what we
actually
normalize.
know, when you see the full picture, when you know what's actually happening, which we're not meant to know everything that's happening. And that's a gift of life. What would be the point of life if we knew how every single thing would play out? Like, of course, like I want to be surprised here and there, even though we are like kind of in this state of, oh, I want to control everything sometimes. It would be so not like if everything was so predictable, just like, okay, cool.
It'd be like a static environment. I think that's what's cool about, manifestation or like actualizing from within, like how you want your life to look, putting in that what people call the inner work to become who.
The version that has it already.
That's one of the amazing things about America, honestly, that's always been very apparent from my point of view in the culture. And it's like that's what our nation is really based around is like, people can say what they want, but America has championed the individual, um, perhaps more than any other nation.
You're
I don't know.
right. I've learned that through traveling, and I needed to hear that because people like me need to be reminded of that sometimes. I am grateful to be from here, to live here. It's a
And where
huge
you
blessing.
are, New Orleans, like music, I think is the primary source code and song of existence that is like breaks down all barriers. And like I remember
Music is
writing
a great communicator.
jazz in particular,
Oh
like
man.
that broke so down so many barriers in the culture in the 20s, and it bridged the intellectual and spiritual gap between, African Americans and Caucasian white.
It helped people connect over something that had nothing to do with what you looked like. It was like you can't help but dance to this. And
Yeah, because
it's
it's soul.
universal.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah,
why I really think music is like one of the greatest healers
it
of
is.
the entire, yeah, of
The
the
human
entire world.
experience without music, like we'd be so bummed. And like with the like 5, 6 chords on the guitar, like you can make so many sounds
It's
and like,
so wild. I
and it goes so
listened to
far back in history.
79,000 minutes of music last year. It was like
Yeah,
equivalent to 54 days. I
tapped in.
love music, and I do think music helps like spread the message of love more effectively than most things in the
Music
world.
helped me survive my youth, and like I had my compact disc players like on the bus, like in between
Yeah.
class. Like I always listen to music, and it's funny because I spent a good number of years like not listening to any music over the last
Mm.
5, like taking in the sounds of the world. But lately, I've been tapping back into like my love of hip hop and jazz, and
Jazz is just, oof.
it's been amazing.
It's hard to even explain it.
Inexplicable. It's freedom of expression and
Yeah.
creativity and music between genres, like the message. It's a beautiful way to describe the human experience.
Yeah. Being from New Orleans is something I am like dearly proud of. 1,000,000%. The culture here is just
Yeah,
unmatched.
it's so rad.
It is. It's such a blessing to be from here. I want to talk about how, like, what does trusting the path look like to you now compared to a few years ago?
Great question. Well, I can say it looks like, thank fucking God, first of all, that I had the courage to maintain the course. And like for me, I did not really have other options. Like it felt like my life as I knew it had been leveled to the ground, and God was like, "All right, bro, like you gonna come with me? You're gonna trust the path?" And I was like, I have to. Okay, like
Yeah,
shit,
yeah, it
And
really.
it was terrifying. It's like walking into a dark woods, and the dark woods are full of my own shadows. And the path that I chose, maybe there was a myriad of other ways I could have gone about it, but my soul was like, we are doing this. We
Yeah,
are going to individuate. We're going to pursue the spiritual path, even though it may lead to poverty. It may lead to all these things that we get warned about in our society. Like it may lead to insanity, like I lost my mind so that I could find it in a way. And I think I'm very, very fortunate and grateful that I was able to do it out here in Kauai, where at at every time I had my favorite companion in my life, nature, like shining gloriously around me. Like,
Yeah.
so grateful that somehow in all of the cosmos and the myriad of human lives being lived simultaneously, like that I've been gifted this opportunity. And the way that I've approached it is like, all right, I have some serious responsibility to get the job done well and do it as an act of service both to myself,
Enthusiastically
do
almost.
it for
Like
everyone else.
like the way you should be
I've been
going
tasked.
about your service should be with enthusiasm. If there's like
Yeah.
one of my greatest teachers has taught me that. It's like you don't just show up consistently. You fucking show up with a smile on your face and you learn
Yeah.
how to be happy that you're here. You learn to
Yeah.
be happy that you get this opportunity to do this. This is not,
Not
oh, I'm
everyone does.
shackled to this prison. Like you
No.
are accountable for your life.
Yeah.
That
100%.
was, yeah, my
Starts
main
from
lesson
within.
on that island for sure. And
Yeah.
I don't even know, like, I just need to say this to anyone who's watching. Like, I have no idea how the fuck I did that. I don't know how I just straight up left my life. It's like how you were saying, it was like the ground was leveled out and there was nowhere to go. And God was like, are you going to take my hand? Because this is really the only way, or you're dying. Like
Like
I'm giving you no choice, no option. I was losing it. I was
my
losing
shit
my
was
mind.
scorched earth.
Yeah.
Like I've I disappointed myself and many others. Like I fucked up, and it had been like a prolonged, like could easily call it like a almost a decade of like the wrong way. Um,
And so
but
many people live their entire life like that, against the
yeah,
flow. And that's why people are getting sick constantly in this country and they're dying early. It's like, because you're either living or you're dying. And what it means to live means to follow your intuition, to follow this voice of God down the path of your specific mission. If you're not doing that, you should expect shit to fuck up. And like your time here is going to end sooner than later because you're taking this gift for granted.
yeah,
Insane.
and like being hardcore like that, I think is what it takes. That's like some spiritual gangster shit you just laid down, like. Because honestly, I feel like, especially in our current contemporary time, like the world ain't playing, you know?
Mm-mm.
Very much for me feels like not to be like, oh, it's a crisis, but like coming from within this call to action as a leader. And, and when I've spent a lot of time out here, the benefit of being alone in solitude is you have an opportunity to take a deep look at yourself and how you got to where you are in the present moment. And I don't think it's like what you have to do exclusive. It's not like you want to be stuck doing that. You don't want
No,
to be
you
always
need we
looking in the
need
rearview mirror.
community for longevity's sake. Like we are social beings as humans, but you need to go through that chapter of
Like if
solitude.
you got to orient yourself on your own personal life map. And like I like this analogy because it's part of my studies in school. Like, you orient yourself. What are the landmarks of like how did I get here? And when you establish your location, you triangulate where you are in your life path. And that involves like putting blinders on and not getting bummed out and comparing yourself to where everyone else is. Cause it's like, part of it is that,
Irrelevant. That's
yeah, you're like,
irrelevant.
God's got me here. It's not a matter of what my neighbor's doing or whatever. And it's like,
Yeah.
figure out where you're at. And then you're like, all right, where do I want to go? Like
Yeah.
and you take one step at a time. You don't get overwhelmed by the whole journey. You stay focused on the essentials, which like you could say start with the breath.
The breath.
Start
Every
with
single time I start one of these episodes, I have to come back to the breath. And like you helped me on my way here,
hey, you're on
just
an
kind of
adventure just to get to where you're seated right
I
now.
know, just to get here where I am right now. And it took a a minute of like breathing and also having your kind friendship and support just reassuring me. That was lovely. When we are looking outside of ourselves and you're just stuck in this loop of comparison, you're never going to make progress on your path. You have to keep coming back with compassion and forgiveness and and just like knowing it's okay, like to be you and to be different. Like that's
You don't get caught
okay.
in the human judgment game of
Yeah.
yourself. There's And I think we're in a more expansive time culturally in our age groups. Like, you're like 9 years younger than I,
29.
like 8 or whatever. And,
Yeah.
you know, I feel as though, from my point of view, like the age tracks are getting bumped up like 10 years at a time, where, like, people say, like, oh, the 40s are the new 30s. Like, at the end of the day, you know, and I know for myself that I've made specific decisions that have led me here, and acceptance, like, and I like the term radical acceptance. That's how
Yeah.
just embody the fact that, like, hey, yeah, I made some mistakes. I let some people down, but I didn't let myself down.
Yes.
I stayed true to this faint voice that has now gotten louder, which I feel like, for myself at least, not to be like, yeah, I am gonna claim it. Like, I
Yeah. Pop your
like
shit.
my soul. I'm like, this is
That's
who
something to be
I
proud
am.
of.
I'm
Yes.
stoked. Like, in
In
it,
those major decisions, you chose to follow that rather than the norm.
and my voice in that
Congratulations.
journal entry 2, 3 years ago was not the same tone. It was self-admonishing. It was feeling very sorrowful, but for good reason. I was like tapping into my feelings, and I think writing out your story for yourself in journal entries is super important for, like, the healing path, for the path of self-discovery, because it's too much to keep in your head at any one point in time. And, like, I
Yeah.
think the more one can channel through reading and writing into the depth of human experiences that have predated our current one, that's going to inform us. And, to go a level deeper, I feel like in all my trippy experiences and reading, like, I've come to discover that the human organism is a unified force of consciousness that exists throughout. And I think yoga has been a vehicle to step out of the ego into this greater pool of experience. And it's amazing how real it is in the unseen world, like this the collective, the human collective. And I found
We're
through reading,
all impacted by one another. So like let's encourage each other to like be on our paths.
like,
Because when
we're
you're
laying
falling off, like you are me, you know?
exactly.
Like I want you to win because when you lose, I'm losing. Like what
Yeah,
the
and then
fuck is this competition shit? Like there's no competition.
okay.
As an artist, as like someone who is seeking to better understand themselves, to continue growing on your path and like stay devoted even when shit gets hard and you're tested, you're stretched. What advice do you have? If there's like
um
one message you could broadcast to the world, what would it be?
I feel like when we meet challenges on the path, I think it's important to sometimes, like, take a breath and take a step back, but make sure to get stuck in as well. Like, meeting an obstacle means that you're reaching an important inflection point in whatever you're doing. And that's where deeper lessons are learned as well. I found, as a player in soccer, suffering many defeats leads to victory when you persevere, when you don't let up, and just having confidence in yourself and um, not getting caught up in the mistake either. Like, learn from it and move on. And if you're pursuing artwork, it's important to keep going and just keep doing. Like, not everything you do is going to be good the first try or even the 15th try.
You
And
just keep
it's
doing
doing it
it.
to create. Like, just create. Don't do it necessarily, especially with art. Like, don't do it with an end goal in mind. Like, sports are goal oriented. There's a creative aspect to it, but it's like different. And when you go to something like making a surfboard, I think it's important to have an objective, but if you're trying to just be creative, whether you're drawing, writing, let that creative force flow through you. And it can only flow through you when you've got your hands on the tools, in the material, and you've cleared the channel of your mind. Like,
So
if there's
how do
something
you
that you
know, like, how do you know when you're faced with resistance, if it's something that you need to just keep going after and like build strength to push through to exceed that next level, or if you need to back off and redirect yourself because you're not in the flow? Is it like, you
the moment you stop
know?
having fun, like if you're not having fun, you're not enjoying yourself, then what are you doing?
Yeah.
Especially with creativity. Like I I was pushed by people around me to like make more boards or just, oh, you just do it. And I'm like, no, like that's not what I'm here for.
Yeah. You're not a
I wasn't
machine, you're a
enjoying it.
human.
Why am I doing it? Really?
Yeah.
I think that's an important question. Why am I doing this? Like getting back to that as like your safe place and spending as much time as you feel you need to. And there's also an aspect of like, procrastination or whatever. Like that's a theme in the creative act. But I remember a comic book strip in like my college advisor hallway that was like talking about this. It's like, is it procrastination or is it incubation of the idea?
Yeah,
Like,
like the butterfly in the cocoon, it takes time.
like sometimes it's good to do it just to do it, especially if you're at a place in your life where you're open to like the experience and it's like never a waste. Like that's the beauty
Hmm.
of life. There's lessons in every second, there's
Every second.
it's
Yeah.
all an exercise of self-expression, and through self-expression you discover different aspects of who you are, what you like about whatever it is that you're doing, to try to keep it general. So I think for
Yeah.
every artist, and I've taken notes and spent time listening to like Rick Rubin's
I love it. I love that book, The Creative
reading, like
Act.
just do the work. That's important, but have fun doing it and don't get caught
And
up in a
take breaks. You can take breaks. You're
race.
allowed to take
Yeah.
breaks. You're not a machine. You're a human being, and there needs to be feeling involved behind what you're doing. And that's what makes things great. Because are you putting love into it? It's like cooking, dude. You
Yeah.
know when your grandma made some bomb ass meal and it's like she just slaved away in the kitchen and not in a way of like, oh no, I have to feed everyone. She's like, oh my God, I want to feed my family because this is one of my love languages. It tastes different. It
Well, and
does.
from a place of love, it kind of makes things effortless. Like, if you love what you're doing, it's a big part of it. Like for surfing too, like staying in a place of love towards my fellow surfers and the wave and myself, like generates a better result every time, and
Yeah,
there's something to be said too, of like also letting yourself venture into like an uncomfortable zone in the creative act, like pushing through barriers. Like, maybe you stop at a certain point in whatever project you're doing a couple of times, like make it a game of being like, what happens if I don't eat and I keep going? I push myself. Like that's something I
mm,
think I've learned from soccer and physical exercise, and I personally love difficult things. That's what adversity teaches us, I think. If
yeah,
I've learned my greatest lessons through difficult times, and I think that traces us back to, putting yourself in a position of solitude, even though it feels a little scary, and learning to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
uncomfortable. Yes. I have one last question for you.
Perfect.
When do you feel the presence of God the most in your life?
I love that question. Um, I've dove so deep into this journey with God that I can say confidently, like it's everything, every moment, every person. And this might sound crazy, but like I've related what other people say in the natural environment to God communicating through us. And I think it takes a mindset of staying centered in in God, however you discover it. For me, I think the words Jesus Christ activated something really special deep inside my being, and I didn't necessarily let other people's interpretations of what that means to them affect how I have learned to interact with Jesus in the nature God sense. Like I kind of started out, Kauai. I had this wild experience of like having the name and the words Jesus Christ on my mind a lot, kind of before my journey even really got going. And I saw this incredible shooting star, like blew my mind.
I visited a cave in India where Jesus was known to meditate. The energy of that cave is unmatched to anything
Yeah.
I've ever experienced in my entire life. In my entire life.
Cosmic Jesus is what I called it then. And then I found God is everywhere. And anywhere you choose to find God in this life,
Yeah.
there it is.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. I just want to say thank you so, so much from the bottom of my heart for being here today amidst your circumstances. I'm so happy that you're healthy and, you
Thank you.
know, just take care of yourself and do your rest and reset. And, you know, I encourage you to study what is going on right now and what it is that maybe, you know, the
Yeah.
universe is trying to communicate to you. And just thank you so
Delighted.
much. It's been such a pleasure, as always. And yeah, I can't wait to see where this friendship leads us and the lessons that we'll continue to learn on the way and keeping
The
up with
great
each other.
unknown.
Yeah. All
Thanks for
right.
having me on the podcast, Alexis. You're doing a great job. So proud of you. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Much love.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.